use what we have learned last time. Okay, the first one, I need to pay attention to is this diagram.
Yes.
It is of what? For three kinds of density. Yes, three kinds of density. So, for a material, at natural state, the volume of the material consists of three parts. The first one is the solid. This is the solid. Okay? This is the solid. This is the volume of the solid. And then is the impurable force. What is the impurable force? And this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. And then is the permeable force. This one, this one, this one. So, for any kind of material in natural state, it consists of three parts of the volume. And then we can get the density, different kinds of density. The first one is the density. Okay. The second one is what? The second one is the apparent density. Yeah? Apparent density. For the apparent density, the volume we consider include the impermeable portion. And then the what? It is widely used for us. It's called the bulk density. Yeah, bulk density. The bulk density. And then is the loose density. For the loose density, it includes the void. The void is between the particles. The void exists between the particles. So we can get these four kinds of density. But from the same material, for example, a stone or a replicate. How about that? This one is the biggest. Yeah? This one is smaller, much smaller, smallest. Okay. And then we get the definition of the strengths and different kinds of strengths, such as compressive strength, tensile strength, shear strength, bending strength. Just for our what we will learn is the cement concrete. For the cement concrete, it has different kinds of strengths. But in this kind of strengths, which one is the biggest for the cement concrete? Compressive. Yeah, compressive strength is the biggest. And for the strength grade, for cement, concrete, steel, they all have their strength grade. We can divide them into different grades, different grades. And we have learned that this number refers to what? This number refers to what? Strength. What kind of strength? From which time? What time? The first one we need to know this number refers to the compressive strength. Yeah? What time? Which day?
28.
28. Yes? 28. 4 weeks. Yeah, 4 weeks. It means that if the strength of the cement If the cement is up to 32.5 after 28 days, we call it the 32.5 grade. For the elasticity and the plasticity of the material, because in civil engineering, the materials used is mainly for the structural materials. So the splits is very important for this kind of materials and structure. And the information is the elasticity and the plasticity. So what is the elasticity? Elasticity means just like a spring. Yeah? We press it and let it go. It will recover. It will recover from the So elasticity is the ability of a material to deform under a load. Yeah? If we conduct a load on a material, the deformed acres. Yeah? Without a permanent set or deformation upon the release of the load. When we release the load, the deformation recover and deformation recover. But for the plasticity, this is we call it the elasticity deformation. What does it mean? If we put a load on the material, put a load on the material, it will get a deformation. Yes, get a deformation. This deformation, when with the time goes on, the deformation will increase. But when we release the load, the deformation will recover immediately. Recover immediately. So this is the elastic deformation. Elastic. The plasticity means is the property of the material that enables it to retain after we release the load. There are some deformation retained. To retain permanent set or deformation without fracture. It's not broken. Okay? It's not broken, but it deformed. It deformed. Just like that. If we put a load on this material, okay? What is this? What is this? What is this kind of deformation? Elastic. Yeah? Elastic. A straight line. A straight line. A straight line. This is the elastic deformation. But it happened immediately. And then, as time goes on, the deformation is developed like this. After we release, and here, release the load, the deformation will partly recovered. And stay there here. Stay there here. So this is the permanent deformation. This is the permanent deformation. This is elastic deformation. It recovered after we release the load. Yeah? So this is a kind of plastic material. Plastic material. And for most of the materials we will study or we will use in civil engineering, there is no pure elastic material. There is no pure plastic material. That's the term. This is plastic deformation. Most of them act just like this. The author elastic deformation, and also have the permanent deformation. Elastic, plastic material. So another concept is about the breakage and toughness. So what is breakage? Just like the cookie. Yeah? Just like the cookie. For the breakfast, for snack, yeah, the cookie. It's crisp. Yeah? If we bend it, it'll break it. It'll break it. So what is breakage? Breakage means it's so little or even no plastic deformation. Little or even low plastic deformation before it destroyed, before it damaged, before it destroyed. Okay, this is the first. And then signified breakage with a smooth fraction. When we put a load on this kind of material, if we conduct the load, the deformation occurs. Yeah? The deformation occurs. And then, as the time goes on, the deformation develops or increase. Yeah, the deformation increase. And then the velocity of the development of the strip or deformation is faster. Okay, it's faster. And then when the load is up to some number or up to some level, it will break. It will break. So from the failure is sudden and catastrophic. So it's simply it can explain like this. The first one, for the breakage of the material, it means the first one is little or low plastic deformation. Low plastic deformation. And then the breakage is sudden. The breakage is sudden. We cannot find that. We cannot even find the apparent deformation of the material, but it will break. It will break. So this is for the breakage of the material. So what is the toughness? Toughness means what? Toughness means when we conduct a load on a material, the deformation occurs. Yeah? And then the deformation develops or increase. And after we release the load, the deformation will return. The deformation will return. So, for the toughness, it means absorb a mass of elements and prevent some deformation, but not to be destroyed by the impact force and the shaky load. So the difference of the breakage and the toughness. For the breakage, the strip or the deformation is big or small. The strength or the deformation is big or small. Yes, it's very, very small. We can even not find it. It's very small. The screen is very small. But for the toughness, it means the deformation is big or small. The beginning the deformation or the strain is big. And for the breakage, it means it will break suddenly. Yeah, it will break suddenly, just like we bring cookie. It will break suddenly. But for the toughness, it means it can get a big strain or big deformation, but it will never break. Okay? It will never break. So, simply, the breakage means the strain is small, but break suddenly. The toughness means the strain or the deformation is big, not break. Not break. For the examples, what kind of materials is cement material belongs to the breakage? Many kinds. For example, iron. Yeah, iron. Stone, or aggregate, brick, glass, concrete. Just like this glass. Yeah. If we put a load on it, it will have little or even low deformation or strain. But if I increase load, it will broken. It will break suddenly. Yes?
Yeah.
That's nice. So the strain is small, much small. Yeah, very small. But it will break suddenly. Then like this kind of materials. Concrete. Yeah, concrete. And for the toughness of the material, what kinds of materials belongs to the have this kind of toughness property?
Steel.
Huh?
Steel.
Steel.
Reinforcement.
Reinforcement.
Yeah.
Yes. And any other kind of material belongs to have this kind of toughness property? The wood. The wood. Yeah.
Yeah.
The wood. It has this kind of steel wood and maybe rubber. Rubber.
Oh.
Yeah. Or some kind of polymer materials. Yeah. Polymer materials belong to this kind of have this kind of toughness. So this is for the breakage and toughness. Used for what? This kind of the toughness used for the impacting loads of the earthquake and drum beams or railway bridges. Or railway bridges. Because for this kind of structures, they all have this kind of load put suddenly, like the railway bridge, because if the train come, the load will conduct to the railway bridge suddenly. If this kind of railway bridge, do you know what is railway bridge?
Yeah.
What kind of materials used for this kind of for the railway bridge? Steel. No? Not trails. It means the railway bridge. Yeah. This is the railway. Yeah. And there's a railway. This is the railway bridge. So what kind of material used for in your
Wood
country?
and wood and
Wood.
concrete.
Yes,
Also concrete.
wood.
Nowadays use concrete.
Wood and also concrete. But I have just learned concrete belongs to what? Bridges or toughness? Bridges. differential. Yes. So, if we only use the standard concrete, it is okay for it? No. If the change comes, because the standard concrete is yes, just like the chip. So we must use what in the concrete? Steel. We must use steel or some polymer materials because polymer have this kind of toughness. Yeah. So just like this is a very maybe in our country, maybe 40, 50 years ago, they are all made by the wood. All made by the wood. Yeah. And by now, they are all made by the reinforced concrete with steel. Okay, maybe there are some problems we need to consider. First of all, how to define density? If we want to define the density, we need to remember the diagram. What kind of which diagram? Yeah, different kinds of volume. Solid, the impermeable pores, pushing the permeable pores, and those density of material. How to test that? We did not explain how to test it. And define elasticity and plasticity. What is elasticity? If I want to, the elasticity means this is what? Spread. This is spread, and this is the load or the force. Okay. If we put the load on the material, this is the elastic deformation. But if we release the load, the deformation of the string will recover to the zero. Okay, this is the elasticity. But for the plasticity, it means like this. Yeah, this is the permanent deformation. And when these materials belong to high stress, whether low stress materials also show some symptoms. So maybe we can think about it after class. And then we need to study this part. Properties related to water. So, firstly, if someone can tell me why we need to study this part, why we need to consider the property of materials related to water. Why? Because in the civil engineering, we use different kinds of materials to construct different structures. But after we construct this structure, then this structure will be used for us. Just like the classroom, okay? Just like the road, just like the bridge, just like the dam. And when we use them, the structure is always contact with water. Maybe you think the classroom is not contact with water. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
The classroom is not contact with the water.
No.
What? In the air, there is moisture. there is moisture in the air. Yeah, this is the first question. Okay, for the road, after the rain, it's wet. It can take away the water. For the dam, maybe part of it is always immersed in the water. Yeah, so we need to know what is the influence or effects of the water on the material. So we need to know the properties related to the water. And I want to tell you the water affects mostly of the property of the material. Many decrease that. So for the properties related to the water, we need to know four sections. The first one is about the hydrophilic and hydrophobic property. Do you know what is a hydrophilic or hydrophobic?
Attraction to water.
Yes. And the water absorption, water resistance, impermeability, and freezing and sodium resistance. Okay, the first one we need to know what is the hydrophilic and hydrophobic property. The hydrophilic property means a material property which can be wet when compared with water. It can be wet. And if I want to give you an example, is just like this. We drop a water on this material. If the water can wet the material, we call it the hydrophilic material. So, how to define it? We can use this angle. This angle, if this angle is below, how many degree? This angle, how many degree? 90. If the angle is more than 90, this kind of material belongs to the hydrophilic material. And on the other hand, if the water cannot wet the material, the angle is bigger than 90, but you are still smaller than 180. Okay, 100, because it will increase, and that you are 180. Yeah, bigger than 90. We call it the hydrophobic material. So first thing we need to know what is the hydrophobic, what is the hydrophobic. And then if the angle is smaller than 90, if the angle is bigger than 90, then we want to answer. So what kinds of materials belong to these two different materials? For example, the stone. The stone belongs hydrophilic or hydrophobic. The stone or aggregate is belong to hydrophilic or hydrophobic. Yes, hydrophilic. If we put the water on the stone, it will be wet. Yeah.
Stone?
Yeah. Huh? The concrete? I mean, if we put the water onto the stone will be wet.
A drop of water.
Yeah.
Yes.
If we drop the water onto the stone, it will be wet. Yes. The stone will be wet. You mean depending on what kinds of the student? No, so most of the students belongs to the high field. For the cement, belongs to what? High field. Why? Because the reaction, yes, the reaction between the cement and the water. If the cement is hydrophobic, the water cannot contact with it. The reaction will not occur. So, the student, the brain, concrete will not to the hydrophilic. But the painting, it belongs to hydrophobic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Just yes. This is painting. If there is no painting, the white is black. Yeah. Just a feel. You mean just this one need to get the painting. Yeah. But this is the painting. Yes. This one is the painting. Yeah. And the asphalt, plastic, all belongs to the So, for the hydrophilic material, we need to consider the water absorption. The water absorption refers to the ability of materials, ability to absorb water when immersed into water. Okay, we need to pay attention to this word. Immersed into the water. Okay, immersed into the water. So, how can we evaluate? We can use this specific absorption of mass. What does this mean? This one it means. Okay, the first one we need to know what does this mean. And two, it means the mass of the material at what kind of state? At dry state. Okay? This is at dry state. And this one is at after it's immersed into the water. After the immersed. Because we have learned for any kind of material there is some holes in it. So if we will put the material into the water, the pores will follow the water. And if the water comes into the material, the mass of the material will increase. Yeah? So we can use this formula to define or calculate the specific absorption of the mass. If this value is high, what does this mean? If this value is high, it means this kind of material can absorb a lot of water. In other words, it's very similar to what we have learned. The order of absorption is that it's difficult to spell. Hygroscopic. It means a material property to absorb water in the moist air. So, what is the difference from the concept above? For the first one, it means we put the material into the water. And for this one, it means we put the material into the air. Yeah, into the air. Inside or outside. Inside or outside. So, we can use this index to calculate that this kind of problem. will also mean this is the mass of the material at dry state. And this one is for example, we put the material into the classroom, we will sleep for several days, and then we can test the mass of it. This way. So this is the outer percentage. Outer percentage. Okay, I'll give you a question. For the floor is wet. Yes. Yes, it's come from what caused the moisture to come from the rock? This is about yes, it's very during the thunderstorm coming, the ground has floor, for these two, okay, for these two index, we need to emphasize. Okay. The first one, it means we put the material into the water. The second one is we put it into the air. So, I have one question. For the same kind of material, for example, the package or stone. What is the difference of these two index? What is the difference for the same stone?
Yes.
I give you a stone. Okay? You get a stone.
This result is so small, and the result is
This one is a
small result.
smaller.
Yeah.
This one is smaller.
Because this is yeah. It's big. This one is big, and that one is small.
This one is big.
Right. Yes.
This one is
Yeah. And
smaller.
yeah. Right.
Okay.
They are opposite.
Okay.
But this one is M2.
Okay. This one is always smaller than that one.
Right.
But maybe it will equals. Sometimes. But it is not normally happen. It always smaller than that one. And then, for the same material, for the stone, this one is solid. I don't know how to explain. It cannot change. It cannot change. It cannot be changed. Cannot be changed for the stone. If we choose this kind of stone, the specific absorption of mass is cannot be changed. Yeah. For example, this value is 3%.
So for same material.
For the same material, it always 3%. Yes. But if we put this kind of stone into the air, we can put it in the classroom and outside. The moisture
Yeah, it's
is
different. Yeah.
changed.
Yes.
And then this value is changed. But we have just said it's always smaller than this one. Maybe 1%, 2%. I believe.
Yeah.
Yes.
But what's it? The previous one, I think.
First one?
Yeah, the first one. What about pure water and polluted water?
Uh-huh.
What about pure water and polluted water? If I throw the stone in polluted water and if I throw the stone in pure water, what's up? Pure water and polluted water.
You mean pure water or filtered water?
Like 2 or 3 kinds of water. Yeah, distilled water and polluted water, which mixed with another thing. What's the content about absorption? I mean,
The kinds of the water.
the percentage of absorption by the stone.
Mhm.
What about polluted water and what about pure water? It's same. It's same.
You mean if the water
What is water?
oh, no. If we want to test this menu, this menu, well, not use this content.
Content.
We cannot use this content material because there are some impurities in it. I always use that.
So always have to use pure water.
Yes. Not pure water. Pure water is so expensive. Yeah. Just like the natural water. Okay?
Yeah.
Just like the natural water.
Yeah. Natural water is pure water. With contaminated.
So, what is the influence of the water on the material? Just like after absorbing water or moisture, the strength decrease. The strength decrease. And the density increase. Why? Because this is the material. This is the force in it. Yeah. And maybe this is the grass. The water absorbed into the material because the density of the water is bigger than the air. So the density of the material increase. And the heat conducting
Yeah.
is increased.
Because of what?
But the heat preservation decrease. Decrease. Geometry size. Geometry size maybe expand, but it's very, very, very static, very small. And sound absorption decrease. Resistance to freeze and soil decrease. We'll explain what is the freeze and soil. Okay. And chlorine decrease because in the natural, maybe the water just like what is that? The water can have some kind of impurities, and this kind of impurities will get the chlorine for the material. So. From this, we can find that it is not good for the material of the water. The water is not good for the material. It can be concluded that the most properties of wet materials drop or get worse. Drop or get worse. These materials
asked Lausi, and
Did you get it? Did you
no,
get it?
no. He told me come to tomorrow and take this.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, right.
Yes, I have given them to
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
Okay, and Lausi,
Hân.
Jang
Hân.
Lausi. Oh.
Not Jang. Hân.
But Jang Lausi is our class teacher. I asked.
Yes. I give this give some to Miss Hân. Miss Hân.
And Lausi's Chinese name is Jang. If you stop and maybe
I get
you give them and
yes.
okay, we'll
That's it. Yes. I have given all the
okay. I asked to the envelope and he will give us tomorrow. He will give us tomorrow. He told me.
Okay.
You can take a break.
Okay, okay, right. So, what they destroy, the first one is the substance is decreased, and then the strength is also decreased. Is also decreased. We can calculate the outer resistance of the material by this formula. In this formula, there are two kinds of strengths. The first one is the dry state. Just the material, the strength of the material. And then is at wet state. The material also get another strength. This to calculate. So, for the same kind of material, these two strengths, which one is bigger? Yeah? In wet or in dry? In wet or in dry? Which strength? Which strength is bigger?
Yeah.
In dry, it's
Dry one.
Oh,
Yes.
dry one is strength.
The dry one. Because we have just learned,
But then density of
the strength is decreased. Yeah? The strength in wet, the strength is decreased. So, from this formula, this value is always below, always smaller than 1. Yeah? It's always smaller than 1. But if the value is bigger, it means what? If it is bigger, if the value is bigger, what does this mean? Okay. There are two values. The first one is 0.7. Another one is 0.8. This one is bigger, yeah? What does it mean? It means this material have better water resistance. Have better resistance because the decrease of the strength is smaller. The decrease of the strength is smaller. If the strength is much closer than this one. Okay. So this is the impermeability. Impermeability. The impermeability means that the ability of materials to resist pressure water. So we need to emphasize on this one. Pressure water. Pressure water. Or other liquids to permeate. To permeate. Okay, I'll give you an example. This is a wall. Concrete. Made by concrete. This is the wall. Okay? This is the water. This is the water. There are 3 places. The first one is in here. Second one is in here. Third one is in here. We need to consider which place is the worst. Which place is the worst?
The jump.
Down.
For the permeability of the water. Which one is the bad? Which one is the worst?
Down.
Which one? The third one. Why? Pressure.
Pressure, yes.
Pressure. If the distance is much bigger, the pressure increase. Yeah. If the pressure is increased, the water can more easily get into the material or into the structure. Okay, or into the structure. So why the water, when the water comes into the structure, it will destroy or make the properties of the structure decrease. The first one is we mentioned. Because if the water can easily get into the water, just like you just said, the water is not purified. It's not pure water. There are some impurities or even content. So there are some salts in the water. This salt will react with the substance in the concrete. After the reaction, they will produce some substance can expand. So this structure will destroy.
More easily.
And then the porosity of the structure increase. The density of the structure because the porosity of the structure is increased, the density of the structure will decrease. Why? Because there are many pores in it. This means the porosity increase, yeah? And the strength decrease. So after the expansion, some substance of the structure will disappear. And then the porosity increase, density decrease, the strength decrease. And what determines the impermeability or permeability of the material? Maybe 2 factors. The first one is the hydrophilic or hydrophilic. That means if the material belongs to the hydrophilic material or hydrophilic material. If the material is hydrophobic, the impermeability of it is good. Yes. Another factor is the internal porosity. Internal porosity. If the internal porosity is high, it means the impermeability of the material is good or bad. If the internal porosity is high, It means the impermeability of the material is good or bad.
Impermeability is good.
If the porosity is high, the impermeability is good or bad?
Good.
It's bad.
Good.
Bad.
It's
It's
bad.
bad.
Permeability and impermeability is opposite, right?
Because the porosity, if the porosity is high, it means there are a lot of pores in the structure. The water can easily get into the material. Yes. So for the underground structures, like that, like that, or structured in the water, we need to get the material has a high impermeability. So how to evaluate it? We can use this kind of index. Maybe we can use the penetration coefficient or the penetration grades. Penetration grades. For the penetration grade, for the penetration coefficient, we can use this value, this index. This index. It means if this value is big, if this value is big, it means the impermeability of this material is bad, and it's bad. It means the water can easily get into the water. It can easily get into the material. Can easily get into the material. So this, the A is means to the area of penetrating water, and the T is time. If the time is short, it's not good. Yeah, not good. And this is the pressure. It's the pressure. Another index is the penetration grade. This is another index of impermeability of materials. The maximum water pressure. It means the maximum water pressure because, and the definition of the water resistance, the pressure is the most important. The most. It means the penetration grade means the maximum water pressure. Materials can resist by prescribed test method. For example, just like this. The P means the penetration. Means the penetration. 2, 4, 6, 8 means what? Refers to what? Refers to what? Not space.
Just different penetration.
Refers to what? Pressure. Refers to pressure. But this 2 is not 2. It means 0.2. 8 means 0.8. The pressure. So this is the penetration grade for the water resistance. We can use this equipment to test it. It's very complicated. Maybe. And then is the freezing and thawing resistance. Freezing and thawing resistance. This is the property of materials at water saturated state. So in this definition, first we need to pay attention to this condition. Saturated state. To go through repeating phrase so phrase so. So you can circle. Yeah. Circles. freeze, maybe freeze for 24 hours, and then melt it, and solid, without deterioration on the well-speed decreasing of strength. So why this circle will get damaged? Why? Okay, for example, because there are some pores in the structure, in the material. Yeah? Just like this bottle. Just like this bottle. If I put the water into the bottle, follow water. Okay? I put this bottle of water, into the freezer, or into the refrigerator. And the liquid water will become ice. What can? The volume expand. So, but if I just put this bottle into the freezer, no damage is happening. What? Saturated state. What is saturated state? Saturated state means in this pore, it follows water, but the water changes from the liquid to solid. The volume expands. So if I if I put the bottle full of water into the freezer, and maybe tomorrow when I take it out, the bottle will break. Yeah, the bottle will break. But if not full of water, the expand is very slight. It's very slight. So it will not get damaged. So this is why the freezer and soil happen. After the freezer and soil, the damage level. Okay. The same condition. This is the wall. This is the water. There are 3 places. After the freezing and thawing circles, which place is the worst? This is above the water. This is at the surface of the water. This is under the water. Which place is the worst after the freezing and thawing circles?
The down.
The last one?
Last one, third one.
On the water?
First.
Which one? 1, 2, 3. Which one?
3.
1. Other answers?
3.
3. They are all wrong.
The answer is 2.
Which place is the worst?
3.
Here.
Why?
There are 2 conditions you need to. The first one is the saturated state. And this place is the saturated state. Is the pores and here is full of water? No. It is equivalent with the air. Yeah? So it cannot be the saturated state. And here is the saturated state. Yes? But it can be freezing. Can it be freezing under the water?
Yeah, why not?
After a long time.
Because it's very deep.
Oh, but you never said it's very deep.
Yes,
we don't have to follow.
this water we are referring to.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
if it's on the surface, like maybe when it's cold, it will start freezing from the point to. But if it's in the fridge, the bottom will also.
Yes.
But if
We,
it's
You
like
mean the fridge?
we thought it's the bottom of it's the
yes,
bottom.
they are
Then
referring
we,
to the bottom.
then we imagine it.
Oh yeah. This is one.
It's below.
This is two.
Mm.
And then if you put this bottle in the fridge, obviously it will freeze. But if you, let me say maybe it's a shallow well or just on the surface, you start freezing from here. If it's a deep, let me say it's a shallow, you know what's a well, shallow well. No. That's how we are referring to the bottom in the fridge.
Okay, this one and here is saturated state, but the temperature it cannot be below the zero.
Yeah.
But here,
Yeah.
first thing is follow water. Because maybe especially maybe today the surface is here, but tomorrow morning the surface is decreased, maybe 20 centigrade, maybe 10 centigrade here. Yeah, this and here is follow water. Yeah, and the temperature is the temperature is below the 0 centigrade.
Yeah.
So the freezing happens. The freezing happens. And then two conditions will get. To get these two conditions. The first one is the saturated state. And then the freezing happens. That's the first freezing happens. And this pool, if it is full of the water, when the water becomes from the liquid to solid, I have just said the volume will expand slightly. But there is no room in the pool. There is no room for the expand. So it will be get some damages at the pore, at the edge of the pore. And then the pore will become what? The pore will become bigger. Yeah, will become bigger. And then after the soil was melting, more water comes in. After one circle. After one circle, the pores will become bigger. After two circles, become more big, more bigger. And after many circles, the pores is big. Pores is big. The pores is big. It means the porosity is increased. And density is decrease. The space that decrease. So, how to evaluate the freezing and thawing resistance? We can use this grid. So, freezing and thawing resistance grid. Let's make this one. Let's do this one. The F means freezing. What is the number? We have just the penetration grid. Sure, the penetration grid. This is the pressure. It's the penetration grid. Yeah, this is the pressure. But for the freezing and thawing grid, resistance grid, what is this number? Huh? It means that circles. Freezing, thawing, one circle. Freezing, thawing, second circle. Yeah? 200 means after 200 circles, two conditions. First one, the mass. Because at the expansion, there is some substance in the form will get out of the water. Get out the material with the water. Yeah. So there is mass loss. The mass loss is below 5%. The first condition. The second is the strength. The strength loss, because the strength will decrease. Yeah. Decrease. Not not bigger than 25%.
So, is it possible to calculate these things in real? Practically, in real world, is it possible to calculate these kinds of so much element, and then you can find the freezing point? Is it possible?
Yes. If it's not possible, why we study it? Especially at the.
Where Doctor?
Mhm.
Where you can see this?
Where you can find this?
Yeah, right, and when?
Maybe
Which time?
in winter. Because it needs to raise. In winter, maybe in
But
loss.
in the Changla there is no.
In China, maybe there are many places have this kind of problem.
In Changsha?
No, China is not because you have just experienced with the winter of China last year.
Yeah.
It's not very good, but maybe it is very close to you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but the kind of just like in Peking,
Yeah, Peking.
黑龙江
Hang on.
Inner Mongolia,
Yeah.
yeah, at this one, because the temperature in winter is very low.
No.
It's very low. So this is the freeze and swelling resistance. Okay. Another concept is about the durability. So what is the durability?
Reliability.
After we construct a structure, yeah, it always have the good performance, But maybe 1 year later, 5 years later, 10 years later, 30 years later, the performance of the structure will decrease. If the material can keep the performance for a long time. If the materials can keep the performance for a long time, it means this kind of material is durable. Have this kind of durability. So this is means the material keeps its properties or performance steadily, not keeps the value. When it is in all kinds of circumstances, this circumstance means what? What kind of circumstance? The climate, yeah, just the heat, like the heat, the temperature, the ice, the water, and load, yeah, and load. Keep their properties for a long time. But the structural materials will damage after a long time. So, what is the reason for the damage? Why it gets the durability of the materials bad? Maybe there are 4 reasons. The first one is comes from the physical effects. What physical effects? Just like this. The freeze slowing. There is no reaction happens. No chemical reaction happens. Yeah, just the volume expand. So it is the physical effects. And the mechanical effects chemical effects and biological effects. So, there is a question. If the porosity decreases, what happens?
The density.
Okay. First one, you said density.
The density.
The density is increase or decrease.
Increases.
If the porosity decrease, the density increase. Okay. If the porosity decrease, the density. Yeah. This is the density. This is the apparent density. And another one is the bulk density. The density will increase. Okay, will increase. And the outer suction. Outer suction. Because if the porosity is decrease, the porosity is decrease. And the outer suction is also decrease. It also decrease. The durability. The durability will be better. Yes, will be better when you increase. And the porosity, yes, it doesn't exist. How about the freezing and thawing resistance? How about the freezing and thawing resistance or impermeability?
Decrease.
Okay,
Decrease.
look at this one first. How about the freezing and thawing resistance? If the porosity decrease, the freezing and thawing resistance
Freezes.
increase or decrease?
Decrease.
Increase.
Why? Because the
Why? Because there's a little
there's
a little pore. There's
difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the water is not easy and get into the materials.
Yes.
So the freezing and thawing resistance is increase. The impermeability is increase, also increase. But the permeability, well, permeability. I just said it's impermeability. It's increase. But the permeability is a decrease. Yes, decrease. Strength is increase. Yeah. Whereas the strength is increase. Because the density is increase. So, how about the relationship between the porosity and the strength? Maybe just
porosity
if the porosity, the porosity increase, the porosity increases, and this, the porosity is increased, but the strength is a decrease. Yes, decrease. Okay. Maybe we can look at these two problems. The first one. It's very, I think it's very easy. Yeah.
The understand is overdrive.
Yeah.
W equal to 500 minus 4
But
Divided by
this math.
divided by
yeah, right.
I think it is very simple. It is very easy.
Yeah.
This is the wet mass or dry mass. Dry mass. This is the dry mass or wet mass.
Right.
This one is the wet mass. Yeah. So it is very simple. How many?
400.
Yeah.
Not 500. Not 500. And 500%. 100%.
0.028.
And the hydrophilic and hydrophobic properties of materials. I'll give some examples. Yeah. So, what is the hydrophilic? Hydrophilic means if I put the water on the surface of the material, there is an angle. Yeah. If this one
Less than
is smaller,
less than 19.
equal. Okay. If if the angle is bigger, this is the hydrophilic. This is hydrophobic. Hydrophobic. We just what is hydrophilic? It's just like the sand, the cement, stone, wood. Yeah. Take it up to the hydrophilic. As for asphalt, painting, and
What about mercury? Mercury.
Mercury is a natural.
Okay, mercury is a pure.
It's not water.
We-
Drop of water.
Mercury is very.
What's the main reason of hydrophobic? What's the main reason of hydrophobic and main reason? Like,
Main reason?
yeah, main reason.
Main reason.
Why
So
this
why
is-
this
this
why
is
is the
the main-
hydrophobic? Why this why is the hydrophobic?
Yeah, for which matter? Like example, this is hydrophobic, right?
The substance is a material inside the maybe to study materials.
Here any chemical reaction or not? Maybe it depends on surface area. Smooth or not? If it's smooth, then it's hydrophobic.
No.
Okay.
It was
Today class is over. Okay. Tomorrow we still have class.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow is not the kids, but not this classroom. No, we can class, but maybe 3 days, 4 days later.